Okay, Chairman, I think we're good to start. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this virtual meeting of Dawlish Town Council on the 4th of November. I hope you can all hear me. Please wave now if you can't hear me, or please wave if you've got difficulties. We can try and sort something, but I can't see anybody waving, so that must be okay. Okay, so thank you to all those who have joined the meeting this evening and those people watching live elsewhere. To ensure that this meeting runs as smoothly as possible, all participants have now been muted and can only be muted by the town clerk on my instruction. Those councillors wishing to speak this evening, please should either raise their hand, or if you click on the toolbar at the bottom, you will see the option to raise a virtual blue hand. The town clerk will then assist me with the order of debate this evening as we consider the agenda items. I'm sure that this will not be the case, but should there be any disruption to the meeting, the individual will be warned once by myself, and if the disruption continues, I will ask the town clerk to remove them from the meeting as per standing orders. Those being removed from the meeting will not be permitted to re-enter. Virtual meetings will be recorded and live streamed, and therefore, should you not wish for your image to be recorded, please turn your camera off now. I'd now like to begin the meeting, starting with number 6 on the For Information page about recording of the meeting. As I just mentioned, this meeting is being recorded. Public participation. Members of the public will be given an opportunity to address councillors present at this meeting regarding agenda items at the discretion of the chair. Members of the public will also be given an opportunity to discuss town council activities not on the current agenda, and after the close of the meeting. The comments of members of the public and electors of the parish who speak before the start of the meeting or following the close of the meeting do not form part of the minutes of the meeting. Okay, thank you. So do we have any members of the public here wishing to speak this evening? Okay, thank you. Okay, so turning over on the agenda now, we start with apologies for absence.
Apologies received from councillors James and Woods, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we all resolve to accept those apologies? Please raise your hand.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, number 2, agreement of the agenda between parts 1 and part 2. We do have a part 2 of the meeting this evening, at which point we exclude the public and the press. Okay, thank you. Item number 3, declarations of interest, to declare any disclosable interest relating to the forthcoming items of business, if there are any. Are there any? Okay.
Councillor Prowse, Chairman.
Councillor Prowse, please go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Right. Yes, I just through the chair, I'd like to ask the town clerk to explain to the committee the difference between prejudicial interest and Appendix B.
Chairman, the former term prejudicial interest is no longer used. It's now a disclosable pecuniary interest that relates to a matter from which the member will benefit financially. And if a member declares such an interest, then they can't take part in or speak towards the item or vote on it. An Appendix B interest is an interest that relates or is likely to affect anybody of which the member is in a position of general control or management, and to which he or she is appointed or nominated by the council, and anybody where they are exercising functions of a public nature, directed to charitable purposes, or one of whose principal purposes includes the influence of public opinion or policy, of which the member of the council is in a position of general control or management.
Thank you. Sorry about that, but I can't say pecuniary very easily.
Oh.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Councillor Lowther, please go ahead.
Thank you. At the FNGP meeting, I'm not sure whether I said it was an A, which obviously it wasn't, it was a B. So maybe was that recorded in the FNGP minutes?
I've not seen them, Chairman. I don't know if the Chairman of FNGP can recall.
No, there would have been this last FNGP. Okay, we can sort that.
I'm sorry, don't recall which category of interest it was, or whether we even stated it at the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Councillor Terry Lowther, please go ahead.
Yes, I do remember you said category A.
But Chairman, may I suggest that when the minutes are considered at the next meeting for their accuracy, that gets corrected at that point.
Thank you, both of you, thanks. Okay, item number 4, dispensations, to receive and consider requests for dispensation, if there are any.
None received, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to suggest, and if councillors approve, that we bring forward item number 12 about the police commander for South Devon forward to this point in the agenda. Please, could I have a show of hands for all who approve with that, please? That's excellent, thank you. So we now go to number 12 on the agenda. To receive an introduction from the newly appointed policing commander for South Devon, Chief Superintendent Nikki Leeper. Welcome to our meeting this evening. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invite. What I wanted to take up this evening is just to meet you all virtually. To introduce myself, I'm Nikki Leeper. I'm the new policing commander for South Devon. And I'm trying to get around and visit as many people as I can in this virtual COVID world that we all live in. So a little bit just about me, just to introduce you. I've been in policing for 17 years. I have had most of my career in South Devon. I've been mainly in uniform and operations. I have been seconded to the Home Office in my service, and I'm a leader in evidence-based policing to look at preventative measures in policing with my master's from Cambridge in domestic abuse. I'm delighted to be appointed down here. I'm based in Newton Abbot. Obviously my patch is South Hams, Teignbridge and Torbay. I've got 3 main priorities that I am looking to work with my teams to deliver for the communities that live and visit in South Devon, and my focus is mainly on domestic abuse. It's on the drugs, crime that we have down here, and on violent crime. What you might have seen this week is that Devon and Cornwall have become the 2nd safest county in the country again this month, and we live in a great part of the world. But I just wanted to provide some reassurance, my face. I'm happy to meet and discuss with you items that you wish the police to deal with for yourselves and your communities. And it was just a quick introduction tonight, just to say I'm here. It's week 5 in the role, and it's nice to meet you all.
Very much. Thank you very much for coming to our meeting this evening and for that introduction. It's very good to meet with you here. Do any councillors have any questions that they'd like to ask at this point? Okay, thank you very much, and I'm sure that we will be in contact with you sometime soon. Thank you.
No problem. I'm happy to stay unless you wish me to go. So.
Okay, you're very welcome to stay for our meeting. Thank you. Okay, so now reverting back to item number 5, minutes.
Chairman.
Sorry?
Item number 6, Chairman.
Item number, did we accept the minutes? Okay.
You not doing the minutes? Sorry, might be me.
Okay. Item number 5 then, minutes to adopt the sign and to approve, sign and adopt the minutes of the Town Council meeting held at the beginning of October. Have all councillors had a chance to have a look, and are there any questions, or are councillors happy to go for approving those? So please raise a hand if you'd like to approve.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So item number 6, minutes of committees for adoption. So if we take them all together, first of all, minutes of Civic Amenities Committee meeting held on the 16th of September.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to bring forward the minutes for the Civic Amenities 16th of September for adoption, please.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for those? Councillor Lowther, thank you. Okay, so Finance and General Purposes Committee, please.
Playing tag with the clerk, trying to unmute myself, muting myself. Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to present the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee, 23rd of September, for adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. Can I have a second for those, please? Thank you, Councillor Petherick. And then the Planning Committee held on both the 10th of September and the 1st of October, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to present the Planning Committee minutes for the 10th of September and the 1st of October for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Goodman-Bradbury. Can I have a second for those, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. So all those in favour, please, of adopting all those minutes, please raise a hand. Excellent, thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you. So Town Clerk's report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. There's really only one item to bring up this evening, and that's obviously the lockdown that we're going into from tomorrow. As you'll have seen from an email sent earlier today, the Town Council office will be closed to in-person public inquiries, but the staff remain contactable via email or telephone during normal office hours. Everyone will be working from home as much as possible, although there will be some minimal presence in the office just to collect post and receive any waterfowl donations and whatever else. But in terms of the Manor House and Riverside Centre buildings, the majority of our bookings have had to be cancelled, as you can imagine, but there are exempt activities that can still take place, such as support groups and educational training sessions. So where those are booked, they will still be going ahead, and the building will simply open 15 minutes before the session takes place and then be promptly locked up afterwards. So we're still doing our bit to accommodate those groups where we can, as we appreciate that those groups do a valuable job for certain groups of our community. So that is about it. Obviously, as always, things change rather rapidly from the government in their guidance. So as and when things change, if they change, then we'll be able to respond to that. But we'll be reopening, if all stays well, on the 2nd of December. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. So then moving on to my announcements, which have been circulated. It is a real honour to be Mayor of Dawlish, and for the 2nd year running too. And my admiration and respect for the community and our residents hit a new high this week. The Dawlish Poppy Wall for Remembrance has grown many splendid knitted and crocheted poppies, and it is a real sign of respect. Thank you to all who took part in our mayoral knitting challenge in this period of remembrance. As we approach our 2nd lockdown, I believe we should recognise and celebrate all that has been achieved in our parish so far, with thanks to all the volunteers and local organisations who have worked hard to support others in our community, and to the collaboration that is helping Dawlish. Thank you too for the work that is going on now in readiness to give support over the coming weeks. We are becoming a more proactive council and have a number of valuable working groups addressing issues for our town. However, with my day job at Exeter Hospital, I am sometimes unable to attend meetings scheduled during the day. When I can attend, I do, and try and keep up to date with the work of those groups. And I thank the other members of those working groups for their understanding. In this very extraordinary year, I love how nature brings a smile. The Black Swan family with the 5 cygnets, in my opinion, is a real cheer and a sign of hope in these times. Take care and stay safe. Thank you. Item number 9 on the agenda then, County Councillor's report, to receive a report from our County Councillor. There has been a report circulated from Councillor John Clapworthy. Is there anything else? Okay, thank you. So item number 10 then, the District Councillors' reports. Yes, Councillor Taylor. Please
Chairman,
go
sorry,
ahead.
just before moving on to that next item, did you want to vote to receive that report?
Yes, sorry, that's my mistake. Can I ask if councillors approve to accept the County Councillor's report? Please raise a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, that's my omission. 10 District Councillors' reports. Any District Councillor wishing to raise a report? Councillor Wrigley, please go ahead.
Thank you. It's been a busy month at Teambridge, but I'll just raise 3 things. Firstly, you may have seen that Teambridge has been successful in its part of the community safety partnership in getting funding of some £500,000 for the Turning Corners programme. I'm sure Chief Superintendent Leeper will be familiar with this. This is a programme that really makes a difference and has helped with the basically working to prevent youth gangs and to actually work with the youth and turn them around, hence Turning Corners. And to have it refunded again is fantastic. It's been a programme that's been working for the last few years. It's made a massive difference, particularly in the middle of Newton Abbot, where there was a big problem with youth gangs, and it has made a difference with youth, shall we say, misbehaviour across the entire patch. And it keeps on going, is evidence driven, and they trace networks and they find the connections between people, and they solve all sorts of problems that you don't even see through being highly sort of intelligence driven and information driven. And it's a good example of the community safety partnership working well across the patch. The other 2 things that I'd just like to briefly mention came up in the Teambridge executive this week. Teambridge is working with the Inshore Fisheries Authority across Devon and the Severn to try to help them and encourage them to bring forward bylaws concerning the amount of mussels and seafood they can take from the River Exe and the River Tean. This has particularly been a problem around the Exe near Cockwood and Starcross, along with on the Tean at Teignmouth. There currently is a very limited amount of things that can be done, but they are looking at bringing forward a bylaw that can be used. That's likely to take some long period of time, but we will get reports back to Teambridge about the progress of that. And secondly, Teambridge is progressing its objections to the dredging of Exmouth Marina and the dumping of the sludge. Teambridge, at my request, will be asking the MMO to suspend the dumping license until the categorization of the material that they are digging out of the marina is done more thoroughly. There are some issues with how they have sampled that material, and they've only just scraped the surface to see what's there. They haven't, in our technical experts' opinions, done a thorough enough job to determine whether that material will be harmful or not. This is material that is probably too toxic to be able to be dumped on land, and yet the MMO coast. And
Thank you very much, Councillor Wrigley. Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Wrigley? No? Okay. Councillor Taylor, please go ahead.
Here we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to be giving a report this evening, but I did put my hand up earlier in response to the further note from John Clapworthy, further to his initial report regarding the link road, and I'm very pleased to see that Devon County Council have signed an agreement with Cambridge, so that the progression of the link road and the bridge can move ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other district councillors' reports?
Councillor Linda Petherick, Chairman.
Councillor Petherick, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say I have sent my district report in. I assume that you received it, Andrew.
Yeah,
10 o'clock.
Yeah, Chairman, and it was circulated on the website as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. Yes, it has been circulated. I've seen that. Thank you. Councillor John Petherick, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope you can hear me. My screen seems to have frozen, unfortunately. During July, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee at Cambridge decided that it would be necessary perhaps to assess the impact of COVID-19 on communities in rural, coastal and urban areas. And 3 working parties were set up. I was asked to lead on one of the working parties. I've been working with Councillor Goodman Bradbury, Councillor Main and Councillor Linda Petherick. And I've also thought it prudent to invite members of the community who have been taking an active role in helping in Dawlish. So Mark Jones and also our very own Angie Weatherhand has also come on board. We've been working with the 2 other groups. I say we're the coastal group, we've got a rural group and the urban group. We're working closely with the other groups, and we've actually compiled a questionnaire which is ready to be sent out. It's an online questionnaire, and it will be sent out to various groups. I mean, I won't list them now, but it will come to councils as well, parish councils, and then we will ask the clerk to actually send it out to all members. So you'll all be asked to complete this online, and please be very, very frank with what you think. When I have to report back to Overview and Scrutiny on the 10th of November to advise that the questionnaire is being circulated, and we're looking to have it back on the 24th of November, by the 24th of November. The results of the survey, together with other elements that are being progressed by our staff, and the data will then be correlated, and together with a number of other reports, will be passed to full council early in January. I think that when this was originally set up, we were quite confident that we were actually emerging from the COVID pandemic. But unfortunately, as you all know, we've lurched back into it again. But hopefully you'll get these survey documents very, very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Petherick. That sounds really interesting. Thank you. Okay, moving on then to item 11, Town Councillors' reports.
I mean, I think Councillor Linda Petherick has her hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Petherick, I didn't see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Just to add to what Councillor John Petherick has said, there are also going to be, excuse me, I'm reading this from my phone. There's also going to be from Teambridge a resident survey to help them understand the impacts of COVID on Teambridge residents, which will also incorporate the resident satisfaction questionnaire. There's going to be 3 stakeholder surveys, a combined environment and place survey, a combined business and procurement survey, and a survey aimed specifically at business support grant recipients. And they're doing all this because they want to, well, they were hoping to do this before the second lockdown, but they wanted to see if they could get things better for people and businesses ready for the second lockdown. But obviously the second lockdown has beat them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. Any questions before we proceed? Okay, thank you. Item 11, Town Councillors' reports.
Chairman, sorry, did you want to vote to note those reports?
Can councillors please approve those reports? Please raise a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else I've forgotten? Okay. Town councillors' reports. Do any town councillors wish to make a report? Please raise a hand if you.
Councillor Linda Petherick has a hand up, Chairman.
Councillor Petherick, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. A few things. You have to excuse me while I read off my pad. I went to the Dawlish tourism meeting today, and there was, along with Angie, there was a few discussions around what happened in the summer. They were talking about how well they did in the summer. The boathouse in Dawlish Warren actually did really well, and the reason they did really well is because they had a big lawn area that they could use. And we were told about Dartmouth, where they had also been given outside space to use, so that lessened the impact of the effects of COVID. And one of the things that we talked about was it was suggesting the possibility of, if things are not going to get much better as the weather got better, that maybe we could look at trying to get the use of our lawn for the traders in Dawlish to use, if possible. So I'm just popping that out there so you can perhaps have a think about that for nearer the summer. Also, the Dawlish Beach, Neil told us about the stats for the Dawlish Beach Cam. The Dawlish Beach Cam has had 8 million views, and the Black Swan Cam is getting 5,000 to 10,000 views a day. So he's doing really well with that. The final thing is the car park at the Warren. We talked about that, and we are now trying to work with the police and the environmental health and the officers at Teambridge, and they really are very, very keen on trying to find a solution for the racers at Dawlish Warren. Xmas seem to have found a solution for that. So Teambridge are going to try and find out what their solution was and see if we can do something in the Warren. We've talked about gates or possibly time barriers, so as they come up early in the morning and go down later at night. So that's where the Warren is, and that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. Any other town councillors' reports, please raise a hand. Okay, thank you. All in favour of accepting that Councillor Petherick's report, please raise a hand. Okay, thank you. Item number 13 now then, the notice of motion. So this is in accordance with Standing Order 30B to consider the notice of motion submitted by Councillor Wrigley and supported by myself, Councillors Dawson, Goodman Bradbury and Heath. So Councillor, can I invite Councillor Wrigley if you'd like to speak about this, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. This came about after several sort of committee meetings and ongoing. And before I say anything else, it was an administrative oversight on my part that this doesn't also carry the name of Councillor Rosalind Prowse, who would like to be noted as also supporting this. So this is across all of us. And I was prompted into action by Councillor Heath to put this together. So this notice of motion simply reinserts that element of standing orders that we all believed was there, but actually got lost in standing orders somewhere during the translation into the new standard model standing orders for councils. What it says is that any councillor may attend any council committee or subcommittee and may speak with the permission of the chairman. Putting this line back into standing orders, which if we do tonight will be effective immediately, will then remove the need to go through A, councillors sitting away from the tables, and B, upsetting, going through dropping standing orders, allowing the councillor to speak, reinstating standing orders, and then going forward, so that as councillors we can go along to the committees, we can listen, we can have our say with the permission of the chairman, as we used to be able to, as we all thought was in place for the standing orders as it was. I've deliberately lifted the sentence exactly as it was from the old version of standing orders to put in to the new standing orders. And hopefully this will sail through and we'll have smoother committees working better after this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wrigley. Thank you. And I think it is a really good notice of motion that you submitted. Councillor Moorhood, I see you've got your hand raised. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Councillor Moorhood, you're on mute.
Sorry, Chairman, I was muted then. I believe Councillor Prowse and then Councillor John Petherick were first.
Right, okay, I can't see all the hands. So Councillor Prowse, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to agree with, smile please, Martin. I was just going to agree with Councillor Wrigley. I was a little bit surprised to find out that this had to be a notion of motion to change this, because to me it's always been common sense, and I must admit that when we did the standing orders last time, I missed this. We did talk about this at the last council meeting, and I was surprised to find that we had to keep going backwards and forwards for standing orders. Councillor Heath phoned me up and asked me my opinion, and I was in complete agreement with him that this should never be, and that the new motion, as we have now put it, should go back into standing orders.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Councillor John Petherick, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm assuming that Councillor Wrigley has actually proposed this because he's the one that instigated the notice of motion. I mean, I would like to second it if that is the case, and I just feel it's unfortunate that it's been omitted due to an uncharacteristic oversight, and I hope that we can pass this through. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. So, Councillor Moorhood, I see you've got your hand raised. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, obviously, this is how it used to work. In past years, I've taken advantage, if you like, of this particular item. And I think it's very important that all council members, since we are supposed to be a corporate body and we're jointly responsible for how we do things, I think it's important that we are all encouraged to attend meetings, whether we're actually on those committees or not. And certainly this putting this back into the rules, if you like, will make it easier and more welcoming. And I certainly support what Councillor Wrigley's and his fellow supporters have put into this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Any other hands raised? Councillor Heath, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it did get raised. I think we've covered it all, so I won't say much more. But just as a personal thing, why it came up, we was at a meeting and it got very confusing what was going on, what the rule was. So I found it personally quite embarrassing having to sort of ask to interrupt almost, and I felt embarrassed to ask. And I think actually not having this will help, as Councillor Val Moorhood just said, it will actually help others to join at other meetings, even if they don't want to speak, to be part of the whole corporate body more, because you feel more part of it, whereas at the moment you feel like a member of the public interrupting, and I felt it embarrassing. So I'm so pleased to see, I think, well, it looks like it's going to be unanimous, but I mustn't count the chickens until they're hatched. Otherwise I could be accused of being something overseas Atlantic. So I do believe that it is a good thing that we should just pass it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heath. Are there any questions before we go to a vote? Because we've got a proposal seconded by Councillor Petherick. Any other questions, or shall we proceed to the votes? No, okay, so all those in favour, please, of adopting this notice of motion, please go ahead and raise a hand.
That's approved, Chairman.
Excellent, thank you. So now moving on to item number 14, Mental Wellbeing and Suicide Prevention Working Group, to receive an update report from the working group and to consider the recommendations contained within regards to the poster printing. So Councillor Tamlin, can I invite you to present this, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to inform councillors that the 7,000 leaflets have been distributed in and around Dawlish, and we have received positive feedback from Teignbridge District Council, Assist Teignbridge and local residents. The group would like to thank David Force, Shirley Fewins and Chrissy Marshall from Assist Teignbridge, and all the volunteers who over the last couple of weeks delivered the leaflets. We would like to suggest that a thank you email be sent to those that I've named by the town clerk. We would also like to thank the councillors who also helped deliver leaflets, because some of the volunteers had returned to their employment after lockdown. The distribution by a large number of volunteers shows a warm community spirit and ownership. For the group's next project, we are requiring council members' support in that we wish to provide self-adhesive posters to be distributed to public places in and around Dawlish for them to display, perhaps on the back of toilet doors. All the risk factors in the leaflet, and I hope you've all seen the leaflet, can reflect on someone's well-being, and we hope that the posters will provide advice and support in how to obtain help from professional and support organisations, especially in this difficult time leading up to Christmas. We have been very busy, and we've actually made we have been very busy and actually made a list of all the public places in and around Dawlish, and thought initially we would concentrate on public houses and public toilets. We have undertaken some research, and publicans appear to be willing to participate. Group members will deliver these posters by hand and make personal contact. Thereafter, there are several public places in and around Dawlish that we will approach to ascertain if they are willing to display, particularly in their toilets. In view of lockdown, we may have to contact by mail. We discussed the two sizes that would be appropriate depending on the venue, A4 and A5, and felt that approximately 200 posters would be needed. The cost would be 100 A4, £190 plus VAT, 100 A5, £133 plus VAT, a total amount of £315 plus VAT. All posters will have an adhesive back printed in colour one side on gloss vinyl and be waterproof. The working group would request that the council consider this proposal and support the application of funding for this project. The group feels that this shows that Dawlish Town Council care about the mental well-being of the people in the community. Furthermore, the town crier will request that members of the public can apply to join the group, and up to 4 members will be co-opted. It states that special skills, knowledge, qualifications and experience in the field would be an advantage. It is hoped that these individuals would be confirmed to the group at the January meeting. Thank you very much. And are there any questions, please?
Thank you very much, Councillor Tamlin, for that really good report. And thank you very much to you and to all the members of the working group for all the work that you've done so far. It's excellent that the leaflets have all been delivered prior to this second lockdown, I think. And I support your suggestion of the thank you emails to the delivery volunteers. And I particularly like the designs of the suggested posters. I think they're really eye-catching, and with all the information contained, I think that's excellent. Thank you. I see we have 4 councillors with their hands raised. I think Councillor Prowse, you had your blue hand raised first. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And may I say, Carol, Councillor Tamlin, that it was excellent, and the people around where I live were very impressed. Your posters, I think, is a great idea. I am aware it appears that you are actually going to put posters on people's personal property and inside toilets. I'm just aware that if we were to put something on an outside, and I'm not quite certain where, that if we do, we can only put something outside for 24 days without planning approval. But I suspect that you are not thinking about putting anything that would need that. You know, like the banners that we used to find down the Jubilee Bridge and that sort of thing, that were left there far too long. And in fact, anything outside like that needs planning permission after 24 days. I didn't know if you had any ideas of putting anything like that where the general public could get it, but I'm just throwing it into the pot.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Councillor Lind Petherick, I think you're next. Please go ahead.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tamlin. It was really good, and I'd actually like to propose that we accept your recommendation. Just while you're talking about this, and it's not to do with your posters, but I was speaking to Councillor Nina Jeffries today, and she was. They have a gym, but it's actually closed as a business. But what they are going to do is they are going to let people with mental health problems use their gym on a voluntary basis. They are all mental health trained, and there will be therapists there as well. And they're doing it alongside King's Care Charity, which is a Teambridge charity. basically, if you want me to give you the details for that, or anybody wants to use it, if they want to email me and I'll give them the details of that, she's quite happy to let them give her a ring. So that works well with your initiative.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Pedrick. I'll email you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pedrick. Councillor John Pedrick, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I mean, I also wanted to thank Councillor Tamlin and her team for the admirable work that they've actually done. Thinking back to approximately about a year ago when it was first suggested that this group was formed, little do we know how crucial the efforts of this group would be within our community. So well done to all of you. I was going to propose that we accept the recommendations from Councillor Tamlin, but I've been pipped at the post. But I will happily second that if that's acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pedrick. Councillor Wrigley, please go ahead.
Well, I was going to either propose or second it as well. So, I mean, it's a great thing, and the reception, certainly when I was posting the leaflets and talking to people, was tremendous, and it has really been appreciated and has gone down very well with local residents. And I think it's making a difference. So this is a good thing that we're doing, and thank you to the group for all the hard work you've been doing.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. Councillor Moorhood, I see you've got your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 or 3 points. As with Councillor Wrigley, it was a pleasure to deliver some of these because when we did meet people, it was very well received. I know that as a group we discussed about getting permission from Timbridge for the public toilets, so I'm pretty sure, Councillor Tamlin, that that's in hand.
Yes.
Referring to what Councillor Prowse was saying about notices in public places, it has just occurred to me that we do have a couple of public notice boards in town, and it might be worth the group considering that at our next meeting. And I think these are lovely. We've carried on with the logo, which is really good. We got a little typo at the top, but that's nothing, that can be sorted out. But as John Pedrick, Councillor Pedrick said, it's amazing the amount of work that's been done, and so very thoroughly. And as it happens, it couldn't have been at a better time and more needed.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Any other questions? Okay.
Can I just say that they'll take 3 weeks to be published, so we're hoping to get them out in sort of late November, December, possibly by mail, and seeing if people want them, and then perhaps sending them if we're still in lockdown in December. But we're hoping to get them out in December, because I think that's going to be the time going up to Christmas with people with quite a number of problems, and they will have then. I mean, there's Angie told me it was a QR down there, so they can actually do it from their mobile as well if they need somewhere private to actually do it, or make contact with whoever, you know, alcohol or Mind, or any of the organisations we've got organisations down here from Childline, Samaritans, Mind, Domestic Abuse, etc., alcohol, National Debt Line, the Silver Line. So for all ages, there's something there that they can, you know, use for support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tamlin. Thank you. So I know we've got a proposal and a seconder and another proposer who was picked to the post. So I know there's a lot of approval for this. All those in favour, please, of approving this, please raise a hand.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that's unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much again, Councillor Tamlin, and all members of that working group.
Thank you for supporting it.
Excellent, thank you. So moving on then to item number 15, helping Dawlish. to receive and note a verbal update on the Helping Dawlish collaboration as to its operation over the Christmas period. Angie, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I hope you might give me a little latitude, given the report was written last week and Saturday gave us some unexpected developments. So I'll give you a sort of roundup of both Helping Dawlish now and what is planning for Christmas. There are now 13 organisations involved in Helping Dawlish, the latest one being Dawlish Action for Youth. If you wish to learn a lot about the Helping Dawlish or direct any member of the public, the website has been thoroughly overhauled and updated, and the Facebook page continually is updated, and that is done with the help and assistance of Open Door. Over the October half-term period, following a donation, an anonymous donation of £400, packed lunches were prepared free, and that involved different organisation members, including Councillor Main, people from Roots, Open Door and Assist, buttering sandwiches under the watchful eye and the careful attention of Shirley Fewings of Assist Teambridge, and 84 packed lunches were actually delivered over the period. And bearing in mind it was planned on the Sunday before half term, it actually achieved its aim, and the group were proud to deliver that. Up until last week, the group had been meeting bi-weekly to see where things were at in the community and in the possible anticipation of a second wave. However, we met Tuesday, we're now gone to a weekly meeting given the situation that has occurred. It is unclear at the current time what the level of demand will be for services from the organisations in what is a different type of lockdown, with more shops prepared and potentially more people have their prescriptions sorted. But we do anticipate, especially there being a need for befriending, potentially volunteering. And I think the group would be clear on saying it has concerns about the mental health and well-being of people in this second lockdown period. In addition, the food bank has now morphed into the Dawlish Community Larder and is operating, and we have had calls on that already. That is under the management of ROC, with all the groups working together, and is part of the South Devon Food Network, where we can call on extra resources. At the current time, ROC are applying on behalf of Helping Dawlish for a grant to the co-op for £3,000 to manage the ongoing costs of the food bank. In terms of finances, as councillors will be aware, there were substantial donations from the public in the first wave of about £6,500, and council approved £5,000 as an emergency response cost centre, which was allocated from general reserves for the purchasing of consumables and other actions related to council activity during the pandemic, and for assistance in the community. At the current time, the finance officer is gradually working through the accounts, and we are working out how much of that initial money is still left to be able to be spent going forward. Because we're slightly uncertain of how much is left, we've actually been raising donations, and we have currently £700 raised in the last week towards financing Helping Dawlish and the calls on it over this second period. But I would anticipate by the time of the next council meeting or the finance and general purposes meeting, I'll be able to make a fuller report on the needs of the group as things progress, and if I think whether things finish on the 2nd of December or there is a longer period entailed. I should highlight the group is actively fundraising and would encourage you to share the word of the Zoom quiz, which is taking place this Sunday evening at 8 p.m. And it's been widely circulated in the community for donations to Helping Dawlish. Beyond this activity, which is happening now, and as you can imagine, things are very fluid. We have had new posters printed. and it is a case of watch and wait at this stage. But all the group, I think, feel better prepared in that we've had quite a good base to actually move forward from. And we do work very well as a group using WhatsApp, and we have a regular Zoom meeting. Before the second lockdown was announced, we were actively planning for Christmas, and we were planning on the lines of a campaign called Treats in a Box, aimed at both isolated individuals and families in need. And this was a group decision. All the organisations and the churches have come together to actually look at this. And currently to date, we have raised £700 towards that campaign, including a grant of £250 from Councillor Clatworthy and, as I say, other donations. So that is looking quite promising, and the finer details of that are being worked out, and it's taking on board what other activity each organisation would normally do over the Christmas period, and there is a clear referral process. I think that highlights where we are up to as of today, and each organisation is really doing the best they can for the community as part of this cooperation. Councillor Main is also on the management group, as is Councillor Woods, and she may wish to supplement my comments, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Angie, for your report, and thank you very much to you and to all the organisations that make up Helping Dawlish for all the fantastic work that has been done to date and for all the plans for the future. Councillor Main, please go ahead.
I think Angie's covered most things there. At the moment, it's moving so quickly that every day everything happens and we just don't know where we are. We are much more prepared this year, but I do think with the shielded not getting a food parcel like they did, it's going to be more difficult. I know some of the things that were in the food parcel they didn't particularly want, but I think we're going to struggle a bit with that. And I will bring it to everybody's attention here. I don't know if you are aware, but the food bank in Sainsbury's in Dawlish is for hits. We aren't hits, we're Dawlish. We're helping Dawlish. And the food that gets put into the food bank in Sainsbury's doesn't come to us. I know hits help out in their own way, and I don't want to stand on anybody's toes, but I do think that helping I see Angie's got her head in her hands. But I do think that people need to know that we need food for our food larder, for our food bank, and in Dawlish we don't necessarily get what goes into Sainsbury's. I'm going to let Angie carry on now because I'm digging a big hole here.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Thank you. Angie, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, please, Chairman. Councillor Main is correct in what she's saying. However, it should be said that the community larder is actively trying to work with HITS, and currently Mark Jones has been in discussion with them, and it is an ongoing relationship. We do have, it was agreed at the last meeting of Helping Dawlish that we would be publicising the type of goods that we need for the community larder. But we would be indicating that if at the end of the period there was any surplus food left over, that would be donated to HITS, recognising their role in the community. And also we do make referrals to HITS, as do some of the partner organisations, for those who are in financial need. I think it's quite clear that the Dawlish Community Larder has slightly different criteria to HITS, in that it's an immediate need, it's for those in self-isolation, rather than a pure financial need, because HITS has required a certain type of referral, and sometimes that's been difficult. We're Helping Dawlish is basically straight away. We do have a donation point in Co-op, and there will soon be one outside the Manor House where people can put items in. But I think that just maybe clarifies the relationship that we are working in partnership also with organisations beyond the 13 in Dawlish, and I hope that clarifies the situation, Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Angie. Thank you. So I see there's 3 blue hands raised. Councillor Prowse, you were first. Please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Angie, for all the hard work you do. I know it's not easy with a movable feast like it is. And Councillor Main has actually brought up the subject that I was going to bring up. And I'm going to take you up on something, Angie, when you said that HITS is about referrals to Dawlish and not immediate needs. I was chairman of the district when the railway line went, and HITS was first on the scene by 7:30 in the morning. So they do respond to immediate need, or they used to. I'm surprised they don't anymore. I thought that was part of it. And HITS was one of my charities when I was chairman, so I was well involved in this. I was quite amazed to discover that the big food bank that we have in Sainsbury's, the food that's going in that, and I am quite certain that, as most of the people who shop in there are local people, think that's where the food is going. I know Councillor Main worked very hard to get a food bank in the co-op, and I know the co-op have been very supportive. They've always been very good with our local charities. But I am disturbed to think that there are many residents in Dawlish who think they're giving to Dawlish itself. It might come round via another route, but that is not how the residents see it. So I'm going to register my dismay to discover that it was not going directly to residents.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Angie, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, if I may just clarify, when I meant immediate need, I suppose what I meant is HITS do respond in immediate need, but they do need a referral, normally from a third-party agency, and that's not always possible to achieve. So they do operate in immediate need, and I'm sorry if I gave the wrong impression. The situations we've had are, for example, when an elderly person rings up and wants something. For example, I do know Shirley from Assist Teambridge, that we had an elderly person ring up for some goods. We've got in the food bank and we've got them. So it is in the sense of immediate need that we can do it there and then. You know, we've got a local volunteer, we've got volunteers in the community who can go to the food bank, do it within 10-15 minutes if necessary. Where if you going through HITS, and I have not said anything against HITS at all. I think they're absolutely fantastic for what they do, and I hate anyone to think that. But like many other groups in this pandemic, for example, Timoth has Timoth Mutual Aid, Starcross has a food bank, because it's meeting a slightly different need to what HITS was set up for after the pandemic. I have no doubt our food larder may still be there, it may not. That broader perspective of HITS, I think it is perhaps unfair to say that all the food that is put in the Sainsbury's bin does not go, all of it, I'm sure, to Dawlish. However, the food parcels that HITS deliver probably include food that's been donated in Teignmouth, Newton Abbot, Sheldon. So I think to anticipate that when you're putting in a bin which says HITS, which is clearly about Teambridge, you can't say that tin of tomato soup will go to a person in Dawlish. I think we have to take a slightly broader perspective on that, if I'm honest. So I hope that clarifies the situation, Councillor Prowse.
Thank you very much, Angie. Thank you. So we've got quite a few hands raised. I'm trying to keep a track of the order. Councillor Ridley, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so HITS falls under my community banner at Teambridge, and prior to lockdown, I did spend some time working at HITS. One of the things that I was doing was processing the input from the various supermarkets around the area. And they bring those tins of soup in and they label them up and they put them around and they put them into the stock. What they then do is they make up bags and food parcels for people, which are then put out into the community, into local areas. So a local distributor will actually immediately help somebody who needs that food, a food bag for them. So that clearly does cover. Dawlish is quite active in this area. So people contributing into the Sainsbury's supermarket are directly contributing to people in need in Dawlish. The fact that it all goes through the HITS storage is really neither here nor there. So they are contributing to Dawlish, and it's a very quick process once you get that referral. And there's a range of people who can do it. And if anybody needs that service, then please contact the town council, and we can put them in contact with the right people to refer them, and they can get that food from HITS the same day, within minutes. They go to the local place. But the work that is done with the larder supplements that, because the pandemic is slightly different, and it's as Angie said, been set up for dealing with that new sort of circumstance. But that wasn't what I put my hand up to say. What I put my hand up to say was I am so impressed with the work that Angie and the Helping Dawlish team have done, and the resilience that they have shown in terms of switching direction around at a moment. It's like going 100 miles an hour in one direction and then suddenly turning around and going 100 miles an hour in another direction, which is a very impressive piece of resilience. We had the Dawlish events committee yesterday evening, and just to add to one of the many things that's going on in the council at the moment, Angie was describing how all of the events planned between now and Christmas have been reconfigured, redone, and I am astonished that Angie has time to breathe, let alone anything else. So I really would like to put a massive thank you to Angie for all the work that she's doing, and how resilient the team is absolutely amazing. And to hear that Dawlish has managed to donate that much money really does prove my faith in humanity and the generosity of this town and the community spirit of this town, which is something amazing to behold. So thank you everybody who helps, and thank you everybody who's contributed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wrigley. Councillor Terry Lowther, you're next in the blue hand queue. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I want to go back to the agenda item too. You said you were proud of Dawlish because of the poppy screen, and I think you're quite right to feel proud for it because of things like that the people in Dawlish do. I think Helping Dawlish is an outstanding example of that. I can't think of any organisation as like ourselves, a little small town, getting together, putting people together, doing all the work that is being done is incredibly impressive. And yes, I'd like to add my thanks to Angie and all the others who are doing all that. Can I go back before we do stop from that to the report, Angie? You mentioned when you talk about money, you mentioned the £5,000 from Dawlish Town Council. Could you just repeat what you said about that? You were going through a list of things, and you said the Dawlish Town Council, which was
in March, on the 17th of March, when there was the last meeting before the first lockdown, there were several resolutions made to do with operational contingency, coronavirus, and the minute reads as follows. It's part of various things, but it reads: resolved that the establishment of an emergency response cost centre be approved and a budget of £5,000 be allocated for the 2021 financial year from general reserves to enable the purchasing of consumables and other actions related to council activities or assistance in the community. And when I was referring to that, that's been used for some of the things for Helping Dawlish. What happened, to explain in detail, is as you can imagine, through the lockdown first time, we had to have some new ways of doing things, including, for example, the volunteer shopping. So we had a massive spreadsheet. Looking at the town clerk, because he knows my love of spreadsheets. And the finance officer is now going through the spreadsheets and matching to the accounts. And that's why of the £5,000. It's not quite clear how much is left or what needs to come out of various budgets. And that's the money I was referring to. I hope that clarifies it, Councillor Lowther.
Yes, thank you very much, Angie. One of the reasons for the question was, do you need any more yet? And you're saying you're not quite sure. But going back to when we made that resolution, I had it in my mind that we specifically said it was really for emergency food. It was the idea was if somebody came up and they couldn't afford a loaf of bread or a bottle of milk or something, we wouldn't expect them to pay for it. We'd perhaps just send it along and give it to them. That was what this £5,000 was for. So it sounds like it's been used for other things other than food. It's been used for more general things. That's not quite what I had in mind. I don't know about the rest of the members. Yeah.
Please go ahead, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, on the 17th of March, members, it was approved that a set amount of money would be put aside for the forthcoming year's budget, which was fairly soon at that point, excuse me, to accommodate alterations that the Town Council might need to make in terms of its operations. So purchasing of hand sanitising units, signage. We've also used the stencil, spray can stencils would have come from that. In addition to helping Dawlish get off the ground as well, and it's been used as a buffer. First of all, donations, and Angie will correct me if I'm wrong, donations were used, and then the 5,000 or whatever was left was the fallback position, and it has been eaten into by both helping Dawlish and the Town Council's activities, but it was a mixed use code. It wasn't specifically for food donations.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Heath, you're next in the blue hand queue. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's more or less been covered now, but I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. First of all, it's good to hear that actually, contrary to what we thought, a lot of the food is coming to Dawlish from the Sainsbury's food bank. It might just be an idea. Maybe someone could even tell me immediately, because I haven't been to Sainsbury's for a long time, like a lot of us. It's all coming on the van now. On that box in Sainsbury's, if I remember right, I think it just says food bank. I'm just trying to remember, does it actually say hits on the side? Because it doesn't. Angie's nodding. Well, that's helpful. But to be honest with you, how many people know what that means? I mean, perhaps that needs a little bit of thought, and Sainsbury's could cooperate to say what that means, because it doesn't mean anything to most people, so that they might know what they're actually giving to, which would be perhaps quite a good for clarification. I don't know what other members might think about that.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. I think the last time I went into Sainsbury's, I do remember, because I actually put something in there, that it has, the sign does say hits, but then next to each of the initial letters, it says homeless and Teambridge supports. I'm pretty sure it does. It's a big green and white sign, but I might be wrong, but that's how I remember it from when I saw it. So next in the blue hand queue is Councillor Moorhood. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a little list. I do know that on the Helping Dawlish website, it's easy to make donations, but I'm wondering, I haven't investigated it all that well because I'm not that au fait with websites. Could I ask if there is, or if there isn't, or could there be a list of the kind of food items that you would like delivered, especially if you're going to open a sort of reception box or whatever at the manor? I think that would be very useful. And really, does Helping Dawlish prefer to have monetary donations so they can buy what's necessary, or food? Is there a preference, or either? Another thing, in this lockdown, will there be some volunteer personal shoppers around? Because I know of at least one person who can't use the internet and would need that. And I would just finish with that. I'm assuming that there is some liaison between helping Dawlish and the council and HITS, so that help and food and whatever assistance is distributed evenly, i.e. one person doesn't get 2 or 3 bites of the cherry and somebody else misses out. That's given you a bit to work through. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Angie, would you just like to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed Councillor Marwood's very first point. I've got the other 3. Can she just remind me of the first point she made? And then I should be okay. I'm sorry.
Right, Angie, I was just wondering if, when we're talking about donations, food donations, is there or could there be a list on the Helping Dawlish website to give people an idea of the kind of things that you find appropriate?
Thank you, Councillor Marwood. Yeah, basically a poster is in production at the moment, which will list the items that we would like donated to go in the food parcels, and that will go on the website, Facebook, etc. And hopefully what can happen is if you don't have a list, people are very, very kind, but they're not necessarily donating the items that you would prefer to have. So that is happening. In terms of a preference for money or food, at the current time, obviously, I think either. In terms of Christmas, we have talked about things, and we were saying a preference for monetary donations because we're thinking of a set treat box, and the campaign on donations will be, if you can donate £5, it will buy this sort of box, £10 will give this sort of box. And that means the type of thing that is given will be fairly equitable. There's been quite a lot of discussion in the group about whether could people donate toys or similar. I think there's issues with that because we need to know what's donated, what's in the box, and we have the added addition of the pandemic and contamination, and so we have to take a precautionary approach. In terms of volunteer shopping, we've been in discussions with Assist Teambridge, and there are volunteers around to do this. However, the situation is slightly different this time in the way things are operating. And discussing this with Shirley Fewings this morning, we were talking about having the volunteer service available, but targeting it to those who are extremely in vulnerable position, because the situation is slightly different from government guidance in that those who are vulnerable can go out and take a precautionary approach. But Shirley will take a case-by-case basis, and I have discussed with the town clerk, if we need to bring the volunteer shopping back up again, we have the same arrangements going on in the background to make things work. And we've also been talking with an app developer who's been developing an app to sort of do the shopping, but after much discussions with Shirley, it's no better in lots of ways than what we've already been achieving to date. In terms of HITS, one of the discussions that Mark Jones is having of ROC, who's leading on the Dawlish Community Larder now, is a firmer partnership with HITS. And we've even been talking about trying to get their logo and how we engage with them. And we have been having discussions with HITS, I think it would be fair to say, and with David Cox, throughout the period. We work as a collaboration, and we're trying to collaborate as much as we can to achieve the best for our community. In terms of whether things get doubled up, I think, I apologize for the fireworks in the background. In terms of things, if you get doubled up, it's very different because it's very difficult because of data protection. Obviously, we don't have access to HITS referrals. They perhaps don't have access to ours. There may be occasions when there is a doubling up. I can't say there won't be, but within the organisations, we do have a data arrangement, and there is. What happens is there is a referral, say, from Assist Teambridge, and they will have done some checking to check on the situation and whether it's appropriate perhaps for that person to be referred to HITS or to the community larder. I think this issue also came up in the context of the half-term lunches, because there were a number of organisations in the town offering free packed lunches as well as helping Dawlish, and the question was raised: what is the situation if someone decides to collect a packed lunch from here and a packed lunch from here? And the answer quite clearly from all the organisations was actually it's a packed lunch. If someone gets 2 packed lunches and the children are fed, that's the aim of what we're doing to meet them in need at this point in time. So I can't say to you that there's not a double up, but we do the best that we can through the referral system.
Thank you very much, Angie. Thank you. I think Councillor Mary Lowther was next in the blue hand queue. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little bit cross, to say the least, because I clearly remember the meeting that we had, that we voted for £5,000 to come from the council, and that was basically for food. I remember the talking. I remember people saying, well, if a little old lady, you know, phones up and she needs some milk, well, we're not going to charge her, because we were talking about handling the money, handling change, taking money from people. And I don't know how the minutes were. I can't remember how the minutes were written, but the feeling of that meeting to me was the £5,000 was for money for helping Dawlish. And I am quite cross at the thought. And donations as well. I remember donations. I gave a donation, but I thought it was going for food for the people of Dawlish or emergency things, but certainly not for use on council premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Thank you, Councillor Main, or Angie, sorry, did you wish to say anything? Okay, Councillor Main, you're next in the blue hand queue. Please go ahead.
I think I'm unmuted. I feel like I've stirred up a big can of worms here. But what I meant when I said it at the very beginning is I don't think people that shop in the Dawlish supermarkets, that's Sainsbury's, put things into the food bank there, as I always did before the pandemic. I don't now, because I make sure it goes to helping Dawlish. Realise that then gets collected and taken to the HITS depot. It doesn't come to what was coming into the manor. Stuff collected from the co-op comes to the manor. Stuff that was collected from Gerald's supermarkets comes into the manor, and then it gets made up into food parcels and goes to people that needed it immediately. I'm not saying HITS doesn't do a good job, because they're doing absolutely fantastic jobs, but I don't think the people of Dawlish were aware that when they thought that they were helping, which they are helping, it doesn't really matter. When people need something, they need something. But in this pandemic, I think that people need to know that what they're putting in that box, I know it says help homeless in Teambridge. I've always known it said homeless in Teambridge, and I've always put stuff in there. But I think when people put things into that box, they should know that it's not coming to helping Dawlish. It can come into Dawlish in another form, but it's not coming to helping Dawlish, and where it gets put out immediately to somebody who's come out of hospital or somebody who needs something then and there. And that's all. That's maybe I didn't word it properly at the beginning, but that's what I meant to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Councillor Petherick, if you've had your blue hand raised, please go ahead.
You were talking about funding. Now, I'm sure Councillor Taylor and Councillor Wrigley will tell me if I'm right or wrong, but when I was listening to the executive yesterday, or Tuesday, no, yesterday, yeah, I'm sure that they talked about a fund was coming into Teambridge for feeding people, etc. I can't remember what type of fund it is, but I'm sure Councillor Wrigley and Councillor Taylor know what it is. I just wondered if you could tell us what it was.
Councillor Taylor, please go ahead. I mean, Councillor Wrigley, please go ahead, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there are a variety of government funds that are springing up. Like everything else, they are changing on a daily basis, so it's difficult to be precise now on exactly what is going to come through. But as in the previous lockdown, Cambridge used those monies and other monies to fund through the organisation called CVS, money for the food banks, money for Helping Dawlish, a variety of different areas. And so those funds did flow through the system to actually end up in Helping Dawlish and the wider food bank that also covers Dawlish. So those funds will flow through when they come. It's impossible to give you precise details now, because anything I say of what was published yesterday will be entirely different tomorrow. So when they come through, they will be distributed round in an efficient way, as it was done before. And I think we had a number of organisations in the town that were supported, not only through Teambridge, but also through Devon County, and money did flow into those organisations locally to help.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. Thank you for that update. Andrew, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to allay Councillor Mary Lowther's concerns. The report that went before members on the 17th of March, the recommendation C read that Town Council was recommended to approve the establishment of an emergency response cost centre and allocate a budget of £5,000 for the 2020-21 financial year from general reserves to enable the purchasing of consumables and other actions related to council activities or assistance in the community. So members did approve the dual-hatted use of those funds at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for confirming that. Are there any other questions, or can we all approve that report and update about Helping Dawlish? Any other questions? So could all councillors raise a hand to approve that report and update? That's excellent. Thank you, and thank you very much, Angie, and to all the volunteers for all the work that Helping Dawlish does. Okay, so moving on to item number 16. This is to receive and note the internal auditor's interim report, which has been circulated with our agenda pack. Are there any questions, or Andrew, would you like to brief on it?
Yeah, Chairman, if I may just briefly, on the whole, it's a very positive report building on previous good audits that we've had. There's 5 recommendations. The first one, previously when we had checks, members signed off the invoice corresponding with the check. And obviously since we've moved to online banking, that hasn't happened, although Yola has sent a corresponding spreadsheet with invoice details. The auditor is of the opinion that those invoices should still be physically signed, but he is obviously aware that at the moment that's not particularly possible. So what Yola will be introducing is sending through scanned images of the invoices that members are authorising through the online bank, and then we'll just be asking for a return to say, yes, we've looked at the invoices and they accord with the payment that we're making from the online account. But once and if we come out of lockdown and into some sort of normality, then that in some way will be looked to be resumed. The other particular recommendation 5, action should be taken to implement the approved diversification of surplus funds. We were looking at that before lockdown and investing with the CCLA, but obviously we have said to the auditor, given that our finances are being impacted by the reduction in hire income, particularly for the building, we don't know what level of reserves we may need to call on going forward. So it's still an aspiration of the council to invest But at the moment, I think it would be wise to sit on it a little while and just see where we are as we head into the new year and while we're budget setting. But other than that, it's a really good report, and my thanks to Yola again for assisting with the audit. In regards to the external audit, they have contacted us with some matters for clarification, which we have provided, and they have come back to us to say it's now been passed to a senior case officer to sign off. They've got to do that by the end of this month, so we imminently await their response, but we're not expecting any surprises there either. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you to Yola for all her hard work on this as well. I see there's 4 blue hands raised. I'll go to Councillor Wrigley first in the blue hand queue. Please go ahead, Councillor Wrigley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it does make a nice change to see clean audit reports, and I think this reflects a lot of hard work over a number of years from our finance officer, and I was particularly pleased with the overall conclusion comment, which says we again wish to express our appreciation to officers for the very tidy way the accounting records are now being maintained and filed, which relates back to the a slightly difficult position we were in before. So the ongoing work is proving effective and helping us run an effective council. So the finance officer and the clerk and everybody else have my thanks for that. I would also like to thank them for the backup work, because as we change actions and activities and responses, making sure that all of these things are recorded and financed and everything is held in order, and we can see at a later date what has gone on, what has happened, is no trivial matter. Because as things change around on a sixpence and we change direction, as we were describing earlier, you still have to keep track of those records and keep track of what has been spent and where it has gone, and make sure it is all done well. I've had long conversations with the finance officer prior to the last F&GP meeting, when we were going through and looking at what's happened in the last 3 or 4 months, and it is all well in hand, and the reports are very clear as to where we are. And so I welcome this audit and propose that we accept it as it is, and wish to express my thanks to the office for doing such good work and making sure everything is held in order in a nice tidy way, as the report says.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. Councillor John Petherick, you're next in the blue hand queue. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I was a few milliseconds before Councillor Wrigley. However, he said what I wanted to say. I was going to use some different words. I was going to say it's always encouraging to get a good audit report. It's good to have that big green tick in the box, and let the residents know that our precept is being spent appropriately and our accounts are sound and accurate. And yes, I was also going to mention about the final paragraph. I mean, it does. It's a credit to our staff that the auditor was that impressed to actually say that they were clean, they were tidy, and maintained and filed and so on. So well done to our staff. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. Councillor Martin Heath, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think I agree with everything else that's been said. Lovely, tidy accounts. There's one query which you may or may not be able to say in this meeting. Noticing that we're carrying forward the quite a large amount of the VAT query. Is there any particular reason why the auditors are saying just keep it on the books, that we can't clear it? I think it was raised last year, but I can't remember what the answer was. Can somebody help me with that one?
And if I may, it relates to a previous VAT bill, which so far we haven't been approached by HMRC to pay, but it's obviously prudent, given the amount that we're talking about, to have it set aside in the likelihood that they do. But obviously each passing year that they don't ask for it, the chances do diminish for them requesting it. So we are watching that quite closely. But the auditor's very aware, as are the external auditors, and have been for a couple of years now, and it's never been raised as a concern. So we're not worried about that either.
Right, well, that's the main thing, that nobody's worried and it's there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Thank you, Andrew. So, Councillor Moorhood, you're next in the question queue. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment regarding their recommendation 1 about those who authorise the payments from the council accounts should actually be able to sign off every invoice. This was brought up before, but we've been stymied, obviously, by the COVID situation. However, we do have details to giving us specifications as to what each payment is for. And certainly we are able to contact the finance officer, which I've done a few times, for further clarification on payments which I didn't quite understand. So it is, in spite of the fact that we're not literally signing them off, they are still scrutinised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Thank you. Councillor Wrigley, I saw you had your hand raised earlier. Did you have another question, or please go ahead if you did have another question?
I was briefly going to add to the VAT thing. It was to do with when we changed the way we charged VAT on the hire of the rooms at the Manor House, and there was some question about the previous practice, but we have been so that's a contingency that's kept in the accounts until that goes off the liability list.
Thank you very much. So no other questions. I can't see any other hands raised. So could we all vote to approve and receive and note that report, please? If you're happy, please raise a hand.
Thank you, Chairman. That's unanimous.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes part 1 of our meeting. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Chief Superintendent for being with us through this meeting. Thank you, and it was good to welcome you to this evening's meeting. Thank you. And it's at this point that I say thank you to all members of the public that have been with us during this part 1 of the meeting. This is where we now switch off. We make this part of the meeting private. So this is where we say goodbye to members of the public and press. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Chairman, just before we move into part 2, did you want to move the recommendation to formally go into part 2, and then I'll stop the Facebook stream?
Yes, so I, councillors, please could you raise a hand if you're happy that we now move into part 2? Please raise a hand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.